Boys, we finally have everything we need to know about casus bellis in EU5, how they work, how the integration process works, pouring up provinces and everything else. So pay close attention. This is probably one of the most important dev diaries we had for EU5 because this pertains to the base mechanics that really will either do or break the game in my opinion. And there are some things here that I personally am not on board with. In fact, I think this is some of the scariest snaps I've seen in a while in the EU5 dev diaries because it kind of alludes to the fact that you will not be able to do a world conquest ever because, oh, you'll see what I'm talking about in a few seconds. What I gather from this dev diary is the way I think it is. EU5 is going to be strictly a playing toll game. No other way of playing it, otherwise you're just going to collapse if you expand a little bit too much. Johan says that in order to attack or start a war, you need a casus belli, identical to how it works in EU4, and there's a few ways in which you can get said casus belli. If you lack one and you want to start a war, you can obviously no CB, so there's the option of no casus belli attack, but then you gain some aggressive expansion and you lose some stability, identical to how it works in EU4, which is actually a good thing. I like the system that we have in EU4. If you don't want to have the aggressive expansion and stability hit, then there's a few ways you can get those precious CBs. There's no fabricate claim spy network interaction in EU5. That is clear from what he says here. However, there's 3 ways of getting CBs. He says that the super old school way of getting one is from an event. This may not cater to everybody's playstyle, and it might be too random, but if it was good enough for your parents back in 2001, okay. Alright, okay there. I like the idea of getting a CB from an event, but this guy kind of leads down the rabbit hole of being able to play as specific nations only in a certain way if you're only able to expand in that particular way because you're only getting events to expand in that way, which is not ideal, but this is not the only way of getting CB, so bear in mind. Second one is you can call the parliament and ask them for a CB if you come up with a valid reason for war. This does require that you have high crown power and you might need to negotiate with your estates for their backing. Plus the parliament can only be called every so often, not every month, so keep that in mind. The last way of getting a CB is creating it when there is more or less a legitimate way to make one. So how is that going to work? We don't have creating a CB on a country requires you to have a spy network, so that's similar to E4 as he mentions over here, but you also need to have some sort of reason to create the CB you want. There's apparently 50 different CBs, such as the Flower Wars for the Nahuatl religion, so that's the one in the Aztec lands, the Flower Wars to unify the Aztec lands essentially, or to reform the religion at least, which kind of alludes to the fact that the mechanic and the Aztec parts are going to be identical to how they are in E4, which is not a bad thing actually. 50 types of different CBs, but here's the catch, guys. You can only do CBs if you have a reason. You cannot just randomly get a claim on an adjacent province because you want to conquer that adjacent province. That's not possible. You can do it if you already have a core from before. If they raided the coastline from enemies privateering sea zones, then you can get a CB. If they're your rival, you can get it from humiliation CB, but you have to get the humiliation CB. It doesn't automatically, it's not given to you automatically like it is in EU4. You have to actually work towards getting it now. So my point is that this kind of makes it so that it's a lot harder to declare war right now. I don't obviously know the full extent of what he means by this, but it gives me the impression that just conquering everybody around is going to be close to impossible or just really difficult. Now we have here the first crusade against Lithuania triggered by the kingdom of Bohemia against the kingdom of Poland. We see the war score here, 31 allies and subjects for Bohemia. Wait, what? That's the amount of allies and subjects, plus 31 versus plus 15. Oh, so this is the war screen actually, I just realized. Now we have war score minus 6.49 from occupations and blockades. War goal is to take Vilnius, and you of course get more war score from battles, not just from getting a war goal. That's some huge ass freaking wars you're gonna have in EU5 because there's so many nations you can actually call in, right? I wish you had the flags though. I genuinely like the way it is in EU4 where you have the little flags so you know who exactly is on whose side, right? Not just plus 31, plus 15. If it just says plus 31, might as well just say plus allies, right? Come on, since you don't know anyway who it is. Or at least say plus 31 allies. Now, war goals, whether you decide that a small border adjustment is needed or you wish to wage a total war, you need to pick which war goal you wish to pursue. Different casus bellis allow you to pick different war goals, and the war goal you pick impacts the cost of conquest as well. So a conquest CB will will make taking land cheaper. So okay, this confirms that we do have a Conquest CB, not just a Reconquer of Core CB. So you can get claims, I assume, or Conquest CB. That's doable, which means that despite not getting the claims, it's still basically the same thing, right? Accumulation CB will make them more expensive. So you can take provinces with accumulation CB, but it would be significantly more expensive compared to a Conquest CB. I see, okay. A war goal for a province requires you to occupy the entire province, whilst a naval superiority war goal will give you a bonus score for blockading the enemy, defeating their navy as possible. Getting your war goal will give you up to a maximum of plus 25 war score, and total impacts from battles in this game can be worth up to 50. So you can get 75 war score from battles and from taking the war goal, whilst occupying and blockades have no cap and can reach 100 war score if possible. So like I said in previous dev diaries, occupying the enemy's lands is going to be the meta to win the war, because at the end of the day, occupying the lands is a lot more impactful than it is in EU4, since you destroy the population, and the population is the main means of getting income, of getting manpower, and everything else alongside, right? And Project Caesar, not every war is necessary. A total war like some previous games we've made, so no more death warring as it's called in EU4. If the war goal is not fulfilled, it is only possible to get a 100% war score if the winning side controls all of the losing side's locations and the losing side controls no towns or cities. I see. This means that if you have your war goal taken care of, winning some important battles and occupying some land, you will be able to force a reasonable peace on somebody. You mix a little bit of both, and you can do a pretty decent war deal essentially. We have here the war goal independence of Calpi, conquer cost for attacker minus 25%. So basically there's no reduction in aggressive expansion for the attacker with the Conquest CB. I'm assuming there would be a reduction with the Reconquest of Core CB, as is in EU4 though. Integration. So after you've taken a province, how are you gonna integrate it, right? Core it essentially, because now it's called integrating, it's not coring anymore. There are 4 states of integration in this game. First of all, the conquered locations, which have a high separatism, a lower control, and pops unlikely to convert or assimilate. This is the state of any location you conquer. So basically, once you conquered, it's just a conquered location. You need to work on it to properly get the most out of that location. When it starts to become integrated, separatism drops to a fifth of the previous levels, and control starts to increase. Control is basically the reverse of autonomy. More control, you get more money and more manpower and everything out of that province. Less, you get less. When a location becomes a core, the minimum control is higher, and your primary and accepted cultures grow more, whilst minorities become stagnant. We also have the colonized status, which is after you have colonized a location and it's not yet a core. A colonized location has a lower maximum control. Right, so we got conquered location, integrating, cored, and colonized. These are the 4 types of province, essentially, the states of the province. What is separatism? Same as EU4, as you would imagin. Location becomes a core automatically if it's integrated or colonial, and at least 50% of the pops are the primary or accepted cultures of the country. So in order to core a province, 50% of the pops have to be primary or accepted culture. So how many accepted culture slots do you have? Because this is the second thing I was thinking about. If you have a limited amount of accepted cultures, then you're not able to expand much, because you're not going to be able to core those lands. You cannot just go around having half your country conquered provinces, because what's the point? You're getting nothing out of those, right? If anything, it's more of a drain, because you have to maintain the separatists and control everything, and they might rebel again and again. Now we have here core of Scania, integration phase, max control plus 20%, monthly control 0.10%, primary accepted growth, and these are the current cores. The kingdom of Scania is a possible core, so that means you can probably release and play as Scania if you want to. So how do you integrate a location, considering that you don't have magic mana? Well, you technically still do. It's not as obvious, but you still do. Apparently, you need to use a member of your cabinet to integrate. At the start of the game, a cabinet member can integrate an entire province at once, but in the Age of Absolutism, you have an advance that lets you integrate an entire area at once. Wow, so that's multiple provinces. That means a lot of locations. The integration is not instant, but depends on many factors like the status and population living in the location, but on average, integrating a province may take between 25 to 50 years. Holy snaps, dude. dude. Holy mother of God. So if you start as a one province miner, the most you can do by the end of the freaking 500 years of gameplay is like, I don't know, maybe 50 to 100 provinces tops, which is like 25% of the HRE. Dude, this is wild, man. Don't get me wrong. I like it. I like this type of playstyle because it's basically EU3 before the last patch, which destroyed EU3. But I can tell you now, oh man, I hate saying this. I really hate saying this. But this is going to cater to the hardcore player base. Like me. I love this. And I think most people that play EU4 love this stuff too. But this does make me think that it's going to be really, really, really hard to get new players for EU5. Because this means that you're going to literally spend months in one save game with little to no actual progress on the map itself. In a map painting game, right? And that's going to make people be like, yo, this is an awesome game. I love it. But I'm going to play it twice and I'm going to move to EU4 or some other game where I can have more fun quicker. Because there's a lot of us like me and like probably you watching this that love this. And we're going to play the shit out of it. I'm going to play this crap. I'm so hyped for EU5. I love everything that I've seen so far in this dev. But I am also a realist and I know that a lot of the people that play map games like to see some instant gratification and some rewards. Majority of the people will really, really hate the fact that you cannot expand as fast as you can in EU4. Maybe even some of the hardcore player base. I'm actually curious to know what you guys think about this. Because for me, I love this. I really hope they stay on this direction. I think this is going to be my favorite game by far. But the main concern I do have is that it's not going to appeal to any newer audience. Or it's going to really, really be very hard to get people to play this continuously. Like to play it again and again. You know what I mean? I feel like this really will affect the replayability for non-hardcore player base. And the thing is, Johan is sticking with this. Like no matter what we say in this comment section, he's sticking with this direction. Because 90% of the feedback that he gets, 99% of it is from the forum. That's it. And everybody in the forum is like me. We love this shit, right? But he doesn't get anyone telling him, you know, that this is not really going to attract anybody new. It's going to be just a game that caters to the already established EU4 player base. It's not going to be a game that will bring in new audience. And if there's no new audience in a brand new game and there's no new purchases, development will get abandoned very fast or limited development on that game. And then I'm worried that it's going to end up like Imperator Rome. I really hope I'm wrong about this. What do you guys think about it? Johan confirms that the Ottomans are not going to get a core on Constantinople through a decision anymore. So that's going to be something that's going to take a while to get that particular core. He also mentions that it is impossible without the cabinet to integrate provinces. And I just realized you need 50% of the population in that province to be of your culture or accept it. Man, that's going to be so tough for like them. This is another thing, right? This means that the bigger nations that have more population, like England, like France, like so on, they're going to have an easy time expanding compared to the smaller nations that it's basically going to be close to impossible to do anything in those 500 years, especially if it's like an obscure culture, which I kind of don't mind because it's more realistic, right? Yeah, he also mentions that the coring up in EU3 was 50 years. That's true, yeah. So now it's basically in between EU3 and EU5, I guess. I'll leave it as it is right now. I'm curious what you guys think about this particular dev diary. This one really rattled me a lot, to be honest. So let me know your honest opinion in the comment section. Be brutal with it. I like that.